Alrighty, so originally I was going to review this game alongside with the other US Open Cup semifinal between the Houston Dynamo and Real Salt Lake, and then also look at the only MLS game on Wednesday between LAFC versus Colorado, but I simply can't do that. I mean, this game was just so epic that it has to deserve a single video, and again, it kind of lived up to its expectation in a game where you have the best team in MLS in FC Cincinnati against a team that fresh off their first ever trophy in club history in Inter Miami winning the Leeds Cup and still yet to lose a game since Lionel Messi have debuted this game. It's only fitting that this game would go the distance, and in the end, it's Inter Miami that is moving on to another final, and they have yet to lose a game in the Lionel Messi era. Now, early on in the first half, despite the high temperature, it was completely packed, and it was expected that it was going to be completely packed in terms of the stadium because the Messi hype is at an all-time high just because the temperature is really hot doesn't mean the fans are going to stay away. And yeah, I mean, it was a packed house despite the fact the temperature were reaching 100 degrees in terms of the heat index. The crowd then chanted for VAR as they feel like Bupenza was brought down by Busquets in the third minute. They actually give this foul on Bupenza, the one that fouled Busquets, but the crowd at TKO Stadium, which by the way, I gotta give a lot of credit to those Cincinnati fans. One of the things that I do worry in terms of whenever Inter Miami play on the road, you might have a bunch of people that is kind of daunted by Messi fans and those wearing Inter Miami jersey that has jumped into the Messi bandwagon. But Cincinnati, they showed up, and this was probably the one that I would say is probably the well between this and Nashville. It was a game where you truly felt like the Inter Miami was actually a road team, and that well, yes, there was definitely some pink jersey in the crowd, definitely some Barcelona and even Argentina jersey because they're there to see Messi play. Pretty much about 80% or if not 90% of that crowd was there to watch FC Cincinnati play, and the atmosphere of this game, it felt like it was a cup final. It really felt like it was a cup final, even though this is just the semifinal, and kind of feels very similar to the one I attended last year between Sacramento versus Sporting KC, where even though that was the semifinal, it just kind of had that cup final feel. Though in the fifth minute, the first shot of the game did see Gomez blasted way wide from long range, and then in the 11th minute, Bupensa was blasted way high from long range, and as expected, I thought Miami had all the possession. They were dominated possession at 69-31, which again I feel like that's kind of the way teams are going to play Inter Miami. They're going to allow them to have possession because they know that they are vulnerable whenever they have to defend a team that's trying to go on the counterattack. We saw Nashville was able to successfully do that. We saw FC Dallas kind of successfully does that too, and we saw in this game FC Cincinnati was kind of trying to do the same thing, and it worked because in the 19th minute, Lucho Acosta gets the opening score line in this one. Although this wasn't really coming from a counterattack, it was mainly because Miami failed to clear their lines there. The ball kind of popped up in the air, bounced a couple of players, and then it fall fortuitously to Acosta. And yeah, when he's in on goal, yeah, you know that's not a great sign if you're in opposition, and it's not surprised he buries that. And yeah, that gives Cincinnati a 1-0 lead, and it almost was 2-0 just 1 minute later when Bopenza puts it into the back net. The problem was the goal was disallowed for offside, and it was pretty obvious that Bopenza was in an offside position, but there was no doubt Cincinnati has all the momentum. I mean, TKL Stadium was just rocking. The Bailey was absolutely going nuts right now. Though Khan did have to deny Gomez in the near post. I thought Miami continued to dominate possession, but Cincinnati has done a good job in terms of defending in their low block and not allowing any passing lane. And I also thought that as this game goes on, you can clearly see this Miami team is fatigued. And we talk about this before with just so many games that has happened, and since Tata Martino hasn't really rotate this team, you just had a feeling fatigue was going to be a huge factor, and you can see it. I mean, you saw how there were players that at times were gassed in this one, which is kind of a miracle. The fact that they could go 120 minutes in this one, and especially somehow still able to come back in this one. So that being said, in the 45th minute, Gomez would heads it high from close range. Though also I would like to say that despite the fact that it was a miracle, if you have the likes of Messi in your pocket, yeah, anything can happen, even if you're battling fixture congestion and your team completely exhausted. Though in the 5th minute stoppage time, Bupenza would hit one right to counter, and we do head to halftime with Cincinnati leading 1-0. Now in the second half, rather Cincinnati maybe just kind of sit in a low block again, they decided to come out aggressive, and I like what Pat Nolan is trying to do. He knows that at 1-0, especially with the greatest player of all time on the other side, creating some magical moment. He knows that he simply cannot let his team just hold on to this 1-0 lead. He needs to trying to go for a second goal, and they were being very aggressive to trying to get that second goal. So aggressive that I think Tata Martino probably was a little bit surprised by that, and this Miami team was a little bit surprised how aggressive Cincinnati was going on the front foot and pressing high. And it worked because in the 51st minute, Vasquez would get the second goal for Cincinnati as he scored here from Arias to make it 2-0 in favor of Cincinnati. It came off of a lightning counterattack, which has been the biggest weakness in terms of this Miami defense. Well, actually, between that and set piece defending, yeah, it's been a weakness whenever they have to deal with teams that likes to go on the transitional play, and it's no surprise that Cincinnati was able to capitalize that, and they lead 2-0 up that point. And I also wrote again the fixture congestion and the heat myself finally took a toll on these Miami players because as the game goes on, you can see there was a lot of walking that is going on, and you can clearly see the players were just absolutely gas because of these fixture congestion, and also it has to be deflated the fact that they're 2-0 down in front of a raucous crowd at TKO Stadium. And in the 60th minute, Vasquez was actually in on goal once again, and Counter actually had to come off his lines. He didn't get to it, but fortunately for Counter, Vasquez kind of ran into a very tight angle. He was trying to hit the empty net, and he came nowhere near of hitting that. Kubo then hits one right to counter, and I also wrote that came out of a turnover for Miami, which was a common theme in the second half. Again, a lot of that has to do with Cincinnati being aggressive, trying to high press, but also the fact that the fatigue factor of these players started to making some mental mistakes, started to turn the ball over when they shouldn't be. Those heavy legs could be also a factor, and yeah, saw a lot of turnover that Cincinnati was could have had chances to capitalize. But instead, in the 67th minute, Miami gets one back. It's Campana scoring for Messi here to make it 2-1 in favor of Cincinnati because you knew Messi has to have something to say. I mean, up to this point, Messi has had a relatively quiet game, but you know that it doesn't take much for the greatest player of all time to make an impact. And here on the free kick, he whips in a perfect ball to Campana. Though I gotta say, that was not great set piece defending whatsoever from Cincinnati. I mean, the fact that Campana was left wide open there in the box, I mean, somebody forgot to mark him, or they lost whoever was marking him and just lost him there because that was way too easy for Campana to hit that one free header in the 6 yard box completely uncontested. And yeah, that made it 2-1 in this one, and you just kind of had a feeling, for Cincinnati because we've seen this story before. Miami has found the ability to come back from multiple goal deficit, and we feels like we've seen this script before. But that being said, in the 71st minute, Barrial did look to respond on the free kick, but that one was pushed away by counter. And then Kubo thought that he restored Cincinnati 2 goals advantage. The problem was he handballed that one as he struck it into the back of the net. So yeah, that goal of course was disallowed. But that being said, you could say that Miami got away with one because if it wasn't for Kubo handballing that one, yeah, that was also bad set piece defending there for Miami, which again, that's been a big issue with this team. This team has given up the most set piece goals this season in MLS play for a reason, and they almost gave up another one in that one. Though counter denied Kubo as he was in on goal in the 74th minute. I thought the game was really opening up. I mean, both of these teams was really pushing for the next goal. Campana then blasts one into Kentucky before Messi would hit one right to Con. Actually, not hits one right to Con, but he hits one right to Con from the free kick. I mean, originally I thought everybody knew that. Looks like here we go again. This is the script again, where it looks like it's a free kick for about 25 yards out. Seems like Messi's gonna hit it, but later on it turns out it was actually a little bit further than 25 yards out, maybe about 28 or 29 yards out. But still, this is Lionel Messi we're talking about. But Fortunately for all those that was inside TKO Stadium, like I'm pretty sure when the free kick was about to take in, you can see there was anticipation for those fans that was there to see Messi, and some really uh quiet and also just dejected look in those Cincinnati fans because they know what the script is going to be once again. But fortunately, for them, Messi wasn't able to create the same magic, and he hits one right to Khan on the free kick. But it was all hands on deck for Cincinnati. You can see they were clearly trying to survive, trying to kill this game off. But in the second minute of stoppage time, Calendar would rob RES in the back post. And, Drake Calendar, again, an unsung hero in the Leeds Cup, once again, is the case in this one. Although I wouldn't say he had as good of a game that he had against Nashville. He still made some really big save in this one to keep Miami at least in this. And that save turns out to be a huge one because in the 6 minute of stoppage time, there was 8 minutes of stoppage in this one, which I know Cincinnati fans are not happy. But keep in mind, there was also 4 minutes of hydration break. So when you have that long of a hydration break, you know there's going to be a lot of stoppage time. But in the 6 minute stoppage time, it's Campana again. He scored from Messi once again to tie the game up at two apiece. It feels like it was a combination of that never say die attitude from Miami and the old Cincinnati looks like it's strike back. You know how this Cincinnati team, how they were probably one of the most cursed team before Pat Nolan and Chris Albright took over this team. Yeah, it looks like it came back to them. Though again, they have no one to blame for them but themselves because really this was again just lazy defending from Cincinnati. Like both of these goals, yes, it was a simple magic from Messi to link up Campana there with an easy header, but both of these goals are preventable. With the first goal I mentioned, they should have marked Campana or whoever was marking Campana clearly lost him. And here, they allowed Messi have acres of space to cross that one. Yeah, you cannot allow Lionel Messi have that much space to try to cross the ball into the box because if you decide to do that, that is gonna be a death sentence. And Cincinnati found out in a big ways. And yeah, the game was all tied up at two apiece. We were going to extra time, and Miami wasted no time in extra time to get the go ahead goal as Joseph Martinez would score from Kamaski to make it 3-2 in favor of Cincinnati. And I also was gonna write. It feels like it's deja vu all over again for Cincinnati because remember back in 2017 when they went up 2-0 against the New York Red Bulls and they had that commanding two-goal lead with the final 15 minute, and then they just completely collapsed and gave up two goals and then gave up a goal in stoppage time and eventually lose in extra time. It feels like it's deja vu all over again. A 2-0 lead against Miami, choked it away in the final 20 minutes this time. Well, 22 minutes that is because the goal by Campana was scored in the 67 minute. Well, actually 23 to be exact. And yeah, it feels like here we go again. And it also doesn't help the fact that Cincinnati have already subbed out all their starting attackers. So guys like Vasquez, Acosta, and all those players, and even Bupenza was subbed off in this one because Pat Nolan thought that they done enough in terms of getting all three points. Well, not only getting all 3 points, but move on into the final. And now they're gonna have to hope that this second string attackers would somehow get themselves back into this game. Well, Barrios tried to do so, but he had a deflected shot that goes high, and then the post denying Arias on the header off of a corner. Once again, poor set piece defending and poor corner defending from Inter Miami. I mean, twice in this game they got away with that one with the handball, and also very thankful the post came to their rescue. There was then a huge shout for a handball not given to Cincinnati, but we do head to halftime of extra time with Miami leading 3-2. Now in the second half of extra time, at least for the first 5 minutes, not much really happened, which I thought that favored Miami because it looks like Cincinnati was completely dejected. It looked like they were done. However, in the 113th minute, Yaya Kubo would score here to tie the game up at three apiece, and all of a sudden, that stadium, TKO Stadium, and the Bailey completely erupted. Like they came alive, and now looks like momentum was back to Cincinnati. Though that being said, Messi looked to try to have another walk-off free kick goal, but he hits this one right to Khan. And also, I just realized, remember how I said that in the 88th minute, that of course is the case. I actually got that one wrong. It actually happened in the 107th minute. So from what you heard about what I described, the fact that it looks like it was a script ending where Messi is gonna win it, that was actually not in the 88th minute. Now that I see this, it's actually happened in the 117th minute. apologies for that because there was so many things to kind of dissect in this game that I kind of got confused in terms of that. But yeah, this was kind of the thought process that, well, it looks like Messi is gonna do another walk off free kick goal because that's the script said so. But Alcon had other idea, and fortunately for Cincinnati, Messi hits one right to Alcon. So that means we go to a PK show as both teams couldn't be separated. The question is, can Miami win a third straight PK shootout? Because so far in the first two PK show, they were able to prevail, and that includes the Leeds Cup final against Nashville. Well, in round number five, Calendar once again comes up with a big save. He denied Hagelin in round five, which allowed Kamaski a chance to convert the winning penalty for Miami in round five, and he buries it. So yeah, Miami, they're moving on into the final, winning their third straight PK show, going back to the one against Nashville, and they also had one against Dallas that they were able to win in the end. Funny thing though is that Kamaski actually buries the winning penalty for Miami in that game against Dallas. He does it again in this play, and now Miami, of course, is moving on into the final. We don't know who exactly they're gonna face because as I'm speaking, by the way, I started this video at halftime between Houston and RSL, and the scoreline is 1-0 in favor of the Houston Dynamo. And if that scoreline holds, then Miami would be hosting Houston for that U.S. Open Cup final, and possibly that game is going to be at Hard Rock Stadium because I've heard that there is a possibility that that game is going to be played there if Miami would be hosting the U.S. Open Cup final. And keep in mind they're third in line in terms of hosting. They just hope that Houston can hold on and beat RSL. Otherwise, if RSL does come back, then unfortunately Inter Miami won't get that priority in terms of hosting the final. But in terms of shots in this one, 22 shots for the 11 that Miami had, 6 shots on goal for the 9 that Cincinnati has, 8 shots off target for the 4 that Miami has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 5 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession that Cincinnati has in this one. And again, anytime you thought that Miami was down and out, you thought that maybe the opposition had finally handed Lionel Messi and his crew the first loss, they find some magical moment, and that's what I think it's getting to a point where I know there's gonna be a lot of hater that say that, well, this feels like it's luck at most time, and maybe this is just clearly rigged in terms of the fact that Inter Miami can get to the final no matter what. I don't think it's rigged whatsoever. Like maybe the first time it could be luck, but the fact that they've been able to do it 2 or 3 times, it's not luck, and it's not rigged in my opinion. It's clearly laid down to just that never say die mentality and that never surrender mentality that this Inter Miami team has had. And again, I think eventually I know this team is going to suffer their first loss. I won't be surprised it could be the next game because of looking how if you thought that this team is already not tired enough. I mean, playing back to back 120-minute games in a span of 6 days, that is brutal. And especially they got another game in 3 days against the New York Red Bulls. It'll be interesting to see whether if they can still keep that perfect record. But one thing for sure is that this team, when there is a big moment in a game, they will show that never say die mentality, and that you simply can't hate on that, even if I know there's gonna be people that's gonna say it. And unfortunately for FC Cincinnati, they kind of fell victim in terms of that, and that this is also the reason why I'm pretty sure everybody are hoping Miami does not make the playoffs. Like if Miami does make it to the playoffs, oh boy, I guarantee you know what's gonna happen once we get into the Audi MLS Cup playoff. Like forget about how I talk about the Eastern Conference being a murderous row and all these top teams like the Union, Nashville, and Cincinnati be fighting for the top spot. If Inter Miami does get to the playoffs, watch out. This team is going to make some noise, and that they have already been proven. It doesn't matter what kind of atmosphere they're on. It doesn't matter if they're in a hostile environment like what we've seen in this game against Cincinnati, and that hostile environment that they had to go in for that Leeds Cup final at Geodis Park. They somehow will have that determination to block that noise and able to win no matter what at the end of the day. So yeah, again, I'm pretty sure if you're in the Eastern Conference, I'm pretty sure no team want to see Inter Miami into the playoffs because they have shown that in this short time since Messi has joined this team, and also a lot of the bandwagoner had joined this team as well. This team has been repeatedly find ways to win games and repeatedly have from behind into that never say die mentality who move on to win either a final or moving on into the next round. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking this game. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. And yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.